Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week, and halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. We spun it off. We're at number 77. Yeah. How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I put a post out with Zach and I holding coffees. It's only up for a short time. Once we gather our questions, it's deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Hello from Nova Scotia.
Ooh.
Wondering if Jeep will offer the Wrangler 4xe in the two-door model. I hear no. And one of the reasons why is because the battery in the four-door is under the rear seat and there just isn't any room.
I'm sure there's packaging ways they could do it, but yeah, that's probably... The other thing is, nobody really buys the two-door. Interestingly, we were shooting yesterday. We were down at the beach, and there was this older guy. He looked like he was in his 80s, maybe even older than that. And he had a minty fresh 2013 Jeep two-door base model, steel wheels, manual transmission.
In orange.
And a soft top. It was like a base model. It looked really cool.
Now, Stellantis says that in 2022, 1 in 4 Wranglers sold was a 4xe. And between 2022 and 2021, sales have increased for the 4xe by 46%. But that could be that they didn't have enough inventory in 2021. I don't really know why the increase, but people are buying them.
Well, the thing is, the number one selling brand for plug-in hybrids is Stellantis, because they have the Jeep Grand Cherokee and they have the Wrangler. If you just look on the road of how many, other than the old guy at the beach, people actually buy the two-door Wrangler, not that many. So the engineering might went into the four-door.
And the two-door looks really cool, as does the Bronco two-door. Love the show. What's the biggest disagreement the two of you have ever had on an opinion about a car that you've reviewed?
Well, I don't think we really have many that disagree. We disagree on trims and things like which one to get, which model.
Or features, like you don't want a moonroof. I like a moonroof.
But the thing is, when you do this every week, like we drive 100 cars a year, when you get in a car, the shortcomings and the high points come to the surface really quickly. Yeah. You know, there's some cars that I think are okay and Andrea absolutely loves and vice versa, but there's no real disagreement.
No, I don't think we've ever
Andrea always agrees with me, so it's fine.
He has to agree with me, really.
Okay, so we're having some work done on our house.
Our deck.
Our deck is getting redone, and there was a design choice that had to be made about the border, if it was going to be in a different color on one part of the deck, and I'm like, yeah, we can make that work, and Andrea's like, so guess what? There's no border on that part of the deck.
No.
Right, Andrea?
That's right. That's right. And there is a reason behind it. The boards are not going to slightly match up. And Zach wanted to put a border, and I said, why would you do that? You're just going to make that little discrepancy look more obvious. So I went like this. And guess what? The contractor was thrilled because he said, oh, this is going to make my life so much easier.
Yeah, it's all because of the contractor.
Hi, love your show. Thank you. Thanks for all the content. I'm looking for a new non-luxury SUV, something compact or mid-size. The Toyota Crown Signia has caught my eye. Do you have any info on when it will be available at dealerships? Next to that, I'm considering the Subaru Forester, maybe 2025, and the VW Tiguan. What would be your recommendation? Can you please comment on reliability?
So I think you're kind of liking the wagon look. I can see that with your choice, the first two anyway. We have driven the Signia. We're not allowed to talk about what we really think of it yet. We can give you information about the car, but we can't give you our driving impressions of it yet. That's still under embargo.
Or pricing, fuel
economy until the beginning of June.
Yeah.
But it does have a wagony kind of look. And I think the Outback is also a wagony look too.
Actually, it's Forester.
Oh, I was going to say
Forester.
I was going to say Outback.
No.
So if you like that kind of look, and the other one would be the Mazda CX-50, all similar kind of looks, and all non-luxury and would do the job. So I think the Lexus is going to be the most reliable. So
the Signia will hit dealerships in the summer. Zach and I are really impressed with that. That's all we can say. June 6th, mark it in your calendar. That is when our review will drop on the Crown Signia. Obviously, for reliability, It's a Toyota, but it's a new vehicle. The Forester, same
Oh, I
case.
said Lexus. See, I'm already thinking Crown is Lexus.
I know.
Yeah,
But
Toyota.
it is upscale.
Yeah, it is upscale.
The 2025 Forester, we're going to be driving that at the end of May. We look forward to it. It's also a new vehicle. So reliability, we don't know. And then the Tiguan. Tiguan is good. It's comfortable. It's spacious. It is the optional third row.
And I think it's actually pretty well priced. I mean, Volkswagen does a good job with packaging their vehicles at a fairly reasonable price. I like the Tiguan. Here's one we disagree on. I like the Tiguan more than Andrea.
For sure. Reliability for the Tiguan, Consumer Reports puts it at a 34 out of 100
Ooh,
for
that's not good,
reliability.
Andrea.
No. But when it comes to driving experience, it's quite high at 85 out of 100.
All right.
So there you go.
I think the best thing for this person to do is wait until all I can say is, Andrea, I'm going to do this. Ready?
Okay,
All I can say is wait until the Crown Signia video comes out, because that might be your choice if you have the budget.
If you have the budget.
But we can't tell you the price.
No.
But stick around, because the Crown Signia might be the one you like.
Do it.
That's not breaking embargo, is it?
No, there's
Okay.
no breaking. We gave absolutely no information. Hi, I absolutely love your videos. Thank you. My wife and I are in the market for a new hybrid here in Edmonton. She is budget conscious and I am value and tech minded. The video you did for the 2025 Hyundai Tucson unveiling caught my eye. So I went to the dealership and test drove the 2024 luxury model. While I liked the drive, I disliked the touch sensitive everything and missed the buttons. What are your thoughts on the refresh, and would it be better to take an outgoing discounted 2024?
Oh, I think that you're going to like the 25 better, because the only touch sensitive buttons now are the HVAC controls. They have gone back to buttons. So obviously they had clinics and people said what you said, too much of the touch screen stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I would hold out for the 25.
I would hold up for the 2025 as well. I even like the exterior looks. The grille is a little bit more integrated than the 2024 model. Just more of a fan of the 2025.
Okay, but if your wife is making the decision and she's value oriented and you can get a little discount on a current Tiguan, not Tiguan, Tucson. Back to the old last question. The Tucson, then that might win.
Yeah.
You
might not have a choice.
You might not have a choice.
My wife and I love your channel. The husband-wife banter is always entertaining for us. Thank you. We do banter, don't we? If we buy a new 2024 EV, what would we expect to see in long-term ownership costs comparing an ICE car? EVs have lost so much value of late, and there is also the long-term cost of battery replacement on an EV. Is it reasonable to assume that an EV can expect one battery flip in its lifetime, like an ICE car can expect a transmission rebuild or engine rebuild once in its long-term lifetime of 15 or more years?
Well, the thing, there's a lot to unbox there, and I think that as first generation as we are with EVs, all the EVs, I'm always trying to think of one that's in its second generation. I guess you could say the Bolt is.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're first gen tech with this stuff. I wouldn't be buying any EV to keep for 15 years. That's like, can you imagine going and getting out your old 15-year-old cell phone?
No.
Like 15 years ago, I'm just trying to do the numbers
just
on this.
past you, the technology.
Yeah,
I think I had it. Was I still with a BlackBerry?
Well, I think
Back then?
the 2007 is when the iPhone came out. So just think about going back, maybe getting a first-gen iPhone.
No, I
No.
could never
Oh, you couldn't
imagine.
do
I
that.
did have a hard time giving up my BlackBerry. Who loved the BlackBerry?
Yeah, the BlackBerry keyboard was good.
Really good.
Great movie, by the way, on BlackBerry. That was really entertaining. So that's my only issue with all of this is I wouldn't be buying any of these cars for long-term holds, which is why we really believe in leasing an EV. But back to your question, there was a study done at UBC about cost of ownership.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know the in-depth study.
Well, can I just tell you quickly?
Yeah, you go ahead.
They said it took roughly 60 kilometers a day, or about 35 miles a day, and 7 years of ownership to break even, just to break even
Yeah, I remember
with
hearing that.
with an internal combustion engine. So you want to keep yours longer, but the problem is, well, tell the story about the Nissan Leaf. That's a good story.
Okay, I just want to touch on something else before I get into the Nissan Leaf. First off, when you get into an EV, I want to say that our gas prices where we live are the most expensive in North America. You will pay the most in Vancouver. Sometimes it's as high as $2.22 a liter. I don't know what that is in gallons.
It's $1 million, Andrea,
It's $1 million.
for a gallon of gas.
It's a fortune here. So right away, if you buy an EV, I'm just
But
comparing
this
that
study,
to a
this
gas
study was
model.
done at the University of British Columbia.
I understand that.
Yeah.
However, you buy an EV, you're going to save obviously on fuel. There's also less maintenance with an EV, but EVs are more expensive. We have a friend, Sarah Daniels. She's a real estate agent. She had a BMW X2, put premium fuel in. She travels a lot around the city. She was spending $800 a month in gas. She bought a Polestar 2, and her lease for that Polestar 2 is much less than what she was putting in with an older BMW X2 in fuel. For her, it was a no-brainer. She did the spreadsheet. She understands her
but as a
budget.
realtor-
She's buying a brand new vehicle, and she's enjoying every minute of
But
it.
as a realtor, you're going to flip that car every 3 years.
Okay, now I want to get into,
Okay,
I
so-
want to just get into long-term ownership costs. You are right. Battery replacement costs at this time they're high. So if you impact the battery, that's on you to fix the
Or,
battery.
it's on the insurance company, yeah.
Yes, you will have to go through insurance, and that battery is costly now. More than likely, they will write off the vehicle because many manufacturers and their batteries cannot replace cells within the battery. The whole battery has to be replaced. That's one area. Most manufacturers have an 8-year warranty on the battery. Toyota, although it doesn't say in their warranty, and no manufacturer puts this in their warranty about battery degradation, there's no guarantee. But Toyota feels that they can hit that 90% mark at 10 years, that their battery will still be functioning at 90%, less degradation.
But I want to get into the story. So
But
Nina,
let
let
me
me
just- can I
let me
just-
just say one thing, because this person wants to buy and hold, right? So you want to buy and hold, and if at the 10-year mark or the 12-year mark you need a new battery, the battery might not be available. Right? For example, there was a story that came out of Ontario that someone had a Nissan Leaf. It was the first generation Leaf, right? And then they changed the battery architecture, and his battery needs to be replaced. They can't get him one.
No.
It's not available, or they have to make it specially. He's been waiting over 1 year to get the battery replacement part for his Nissan Leaf. We have a friend in California who's got a Tesla Model S, first generation. Well, it's still the first generation, but a very early one, and it's got the 60 battery. They don't even make that anymore.
No, but I wonder if at some point later on you'll be able to buy a refurbished battery used, and it will cost less. Look, I don't know. I've said this before in our videos, you can't predict the future. What you can do is buy a vehicle. You could lease it for 3 years. If you want to buy it out, buy it out. But what we can tell you is at that 10-year mark, more than likely, if you go and sell that, people aren't going to want your vehicle because they're going to be concerned about battery replacement costs.
Yeah.
Unless at that time
you could
prove that you could buy a used battery and you could put it in for, $4,000.
Or back to Andrew's point, that Toyota is thinking they're going to have 80-90% battery longevity after 10 years. If you can go on the computer or the dealership can verify there's still 80-90% battery life in the battery, and then you can go for it. The other thing is you got to remember that electric cars are heavy on tires because they're heavy.
Yeah.
So that's a much less expensive cost than the maintenance of internal combustion engines, oil changes, all that kind of stuff. There's so many things. And this is one of the things about EVs. It's a real spreadsheet kind of thing. But personally, okay, I'll ask you, Andrea, would you buy an electric car today to go 15 years? I would not.
Okay. I would not buy an electric car because we have paid off all of the vehicles that we have today. And there is something about not having a monthly payment. I enjoy it. I like the vehicles that we have, and we're going to stick with them. We don't need a new vehicle.
And
we
what's
test
the line,
drive
Andrea?
2 new vehicles. What's that?
The line is the cheapest car is the one that you own.
So if you want to get an EV and you plan on keeping it long term, let's just say that's your plan. You don't want to lease it because you don't want monthly payments and going in and out of a new EV for the next 10 years, 15 years. There is something about not worrying about it. Enjoy the vehicle that you have. And at the 10-year mark,
Well, there might be way more options at the end, like you said. Like
We
there might be.
don't know right now.
Yeah.
You have to do what's right for you. If
My
I
worry-
was, you know
my
what Zach
worry-
and I talk, if we were living in the suburbs and we were commuting back and forth 2 hours a day, we would probably buy an EV that would fit within our daily use, the horsepower that
It'd
we
be a
like,
Chevy
the
Bolt.
EV range that we like, and we would just keep it and not worry about switching it out and deal with maybe consequences at the end of 10 years. But this flipping in and out of EVs, I don't know if that's such a good idea either, and having monthly payments.
That's where the
for
market's
what? For
going,
15
Andrea.
years.
So now when you go and get your new iPhone, they basically lease it to
true.
you. They're leasing you phones
Yeah.
now. So that's the market we're moving towards, is that you don't actually own the car. You just pay for the car, and then the cars, the whole downfall is the other part is the recycling. So by the way, I think we've answered 3 questions. We're already up to 18 minutes or something here. So
Okay, but this one, this is just kind of a follow-up to that
Okay,
one, which
yeah.
is interesting. Hi, I'm an owner of a 2020 Model 3. I'm happy with my car. It suits my driving needs of 50 kilometers daily travel, plus sometimes road trip. I'm thinking of selling this due to high depreciation cost of the EV. The warranty or battery expires at 2028. If I sell later, it will be a throwaway price. Should I sell and buy a new SUV with higher interest rate? What do
I
you
know.
think is the best way forward?
Well,
See?
Well, there's no right answer. It's funny because I was just this morning on the phone talking to my dad, and he said, "Oh, did you hear about Hertz getting rid of their EVs?"
Yeah.
And a big problem. This is a massive company who bought thousands and thousands of Teslas. Is that they're getting rid of them because of high damage claims, because the cars are expensive to fix. Too many cars getting written off, and then the thing about a rental fleet is they need to know the value of the cars after they've miled out.
Yeah.
So maybe a rental car took 30,000 miles on them, and then they sell them. They want to know at the 30,000 mile mark in the U.S. that they're going to get X number of dollars, and the market has fallen out because Elon Musk dropped the price of the cars. So they got caught with that. So his point is absolutely valid,
Bang
which
on.
goes back to the last question. Like, it's a big leap of, if you're really concerned about the dollars and cents up front, when you first
Yeah.
drive it, you're like, I don't have to put any gas. Isn't this great? But there could be bigger, what's the most expensive thing about owning a car? Depreciation.
Yes, but in the case of an EV, the battery.
Well, and that's factored in. That's part of the equation. So, but a lot of people don't realize this. The number one cost of owning a car is you buy it for X dollars and you sell it for Y dollars. The gap between that is the biggest cost.
Yeah.
So if these are going to be looked at as disposable, like a Bic lighter, and then you throw it away, what's that going to do for value?
This is the concern. So you got to do what's right for you. And I'm not against holding on to them long term, but you have to buy the vehicle that has the horsepower today that works for you and the range that works for you, and not worry about when new vehicles come out and they offer 1,000 kilometers of range. And that's the problem.
Okay, so our friend in California got the very first Model S.
Yeah.
And it's got the I think it was the smallest battery you could get at the time, because he stretched to get it, right?
Sure.
But
And it was expensive back then.
Yeah, they were expensive. But the thing is, on the upside, he's had the car for over 10 years.
No problem.
And he just putts around his neighborhood.
Yeah.
He works from home, so he uses it to run errands and stuff. So that battery actually still works for him. He would like to have a bigger battery for when they go on a road trip.
Yeah.
But I said to him, so are you just going to replace the battery? He says, well, first of all, the battery's not available. Back to the point we made earlier.
Yeah.
He would have to put a bigger battery in. It would be expensive. He said, I would just get another one. I would just get a new car.
And he'd just take the hit on that maybe people wouldn't want it.
Hello, Mr. Tow Truck. Don't hit my car.
Oh, he's squeezing through. It's tight.
We're good.
It's
Thank
tight.
you. Tonk's Towing. Well done, Mr. Tonk. You know, Tonka wasn't available, so we went with Tonks.
And guess what? Toyota, they just put out a press release that in Metro Vancouver, where we live, that they are going to be renting out out BZ4Xs
BZ4Xs, yeah.
and eventually Mirais to Uber drivers. So they've got some sort of a rental program going. And we spoke to a cab driver.
An Uber driver in San Diego, yeah.
No, remember here, the BZ4X,
Oh, here, yeah.
right? A cab driver. And he said, and everybody complains about the BZ4X not having enough range and this Altera and charging speed. But he said it's fantastic. He loves it. It suits his daily needs.
Yeah, I mean, he does this whole shift on one charge. So there you go. But it's mostly short trips around the city.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew, I think we flogged that one to death.
Did.
That was
a good conversation.
I didn't even know it was going to be all EV all the time.
I know.
And
It's like,
and do we
wow.
and at the end of this, do we agree or do we disagree? You tell
I think
us.
we kind of agreed. I mean,
know
I think
there's-
we think the same way
it's
about
too much-
EVs.
the problem
but
with
there's
EV
a lot of unknowns about the future.
I think a lot of people go in there and they go, honey, we're going to get an EV. That's great. We don't have to buy gas. So that's the short term. But maybe if you kept the car 8 years, they might go and say, we want to get a new one. And they're like, what do you mean it's only worth $5,000?
Yeah.
Our last car, we got way more for. I don't know. We don't know.
And that's the whole thing, even with Toyota or Lexus hybrids, and the resale value on these vehicles are very good. That I think with electric vehicles, we have to look at the savings along the way that you're getting. And at the end, it may not be worth as much, but you enjoyed
money all
it
the way
for,
along.
you may not even need a battery at the 10-year mark.
All right. We're
We
going around in
just don't
circles now.
know.
Okay. So how do you get a question in, Andrea?
You got to follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I put a post out. It's only up for a short time. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Thanks for watching. Now, what about if you own an EV long term, Andrea? What do you think of that?
Let's not go there. We're going around in circles, Zach.